Yeah, just following up the game from Saturday, congratulations to our seniors. I thought, all week we talked about the importance of senior week and sending those guys off the right way, and just to have two walk-offs 2 years in a row on senior day is pretty incredible, and for those guys to get to experience that, just a credit to them and the rest of the team for fighting, believing in each other, and finding a way to win the game. So really proud of those guys for that. But we've got to move on. This week doesn't care about last week, and we don't get to carry any of those performances with us. We've got to recreate the process, and we've got to be improving this week for a very difficult task, playing the Arkansas Razorbacks at home in Fayetteville. Obviously a very good football team that Coach Pittman has done just an outstanding job with that program, the way they play on both sides of the football. Offensively, their quarterback, KJ Jefferson, who got his first career start, I believe, against us last year and played unbelievable, is really having a remarkable season and is very difficult to tackle, does a great job of creating time and space in the pocket, delivering the ball down the field, makes plays off scheduled. Their wide receiver, Treylon Burks, I believe, is one of the top two wide receivers in the league. That would be a great contest for him and Jamison Williams. But Treylon is very special. They do a tremendous job of moving him around. He lines up in a lot of different locations. Coach Briles is really doing a really nice job with their offense in getting the ball to their playmakers. Defensively, Coach Odom is doing another outstanding job, very multiple in the way that they attack, utilizing all the pieces of his defense. They play together, they play hard, they play fast, and definitely have our hands full. I think their linebackers, Hayden Henry and Grant Morgan, are as good as any two in the conference, and Hayden Henry, to me, is playing as well as anybody, plays downhill, physical, and really sets the tone for that defense. Special teams, Coach Fountain, obviously, is doing a really good job. 2 fake field goals in a row, 2 games in a row, and they had a fake against us last year. So does a great job of utilizing special teams to create advantages for them. And so it will be a challenge for our team in order to match the intensity and the execution of their team. And obviously it's an important game for us with the Battle Line Trophy on the line. And so excited about the opportunity to play on CBS on Friday. And with that, I'll open up for questions.
Eli, we go back to the 2-point play. I mean, 2-point conversions are a unique play in football.
Yep.
For you, what are the essential elements that go into creating a successful 2-point play?
There's all kinds of things. We actually, Coach Woods had made the suggestion that on Tuesdays we do a field goal. We do field goal block every Tuesday and Wednesday, but on Tuesdays to practice 2-point plays because they could become so prominent with the new second overtime. Everybody's got to have it. So we've been practicing 2-point plays every Tuesday since fall camp, and so we've gotten a lot of extra reps on those plays. So I think all of us had a lot of confidence of getting those plays, and then we rep them on Fridays, our top 3. And so I think what goes into it is just execution and having a confidence in knowing all of your options. That play has a lot of different options, and Connor was able to get to his final option and make the play, which was nice to see.
Eli, you talked about quarterbacks having to block out the noise after the game.
Yep.
Have there been any instances, or have you seen Connor struggle with that at all this year, or has he been able to do that pretty well?
I'm not going to speak for Connor as far as him being able to do that. I mean, look, we're all human, so I'm sure there's been instances where you see and feel that criticism. But I think he's done a great job within our team and the framework of our team in this building and on the football field of being able to block out the noise and perform at a level that he believes and I believe is successful.
Eli, you talked earlier this year about not skipping steps, and I'm sure this 6th win and getting bowl eligible kind of speaks for itself in terms of that step. But in the landscape of what you hope to grow here, what is exactly a 6th win and getting to the postseason mean for your program?
I think it's just continuing to show progress. when the schedule came out, there was a lot of optimism about what we could accomplish and what maybe the expectations for our team were. I think after you don't really know until you play. After week one, I kind of had a different sense of maybe what our team was capable of, and the disappointment at Boston College, I think was real, and like, okay, this is really where we've got to really work to improve. We weren't improving at the rate that we needed to in the middle of the season, and so I think we had to really rededicate ourselves to how are we going to focus on improvement in individual player development and then commitment to the team. And I think you've seen that in our performances really the last 4 weeks. I think there's a greater sense of commitment to the team, to each other, playing for each other, doing my job. Coach Wilkes has talked about my gap, my responsibility, and those guys are really doing it now. Offensively, I think just not worried about individual statistics or maybe what is in it for me, but what can we do as a group. We've faced a lot of different adversity with injuries and people being out, but that's football, that's life. And so I think the way our guys are responding has been a positive. You really can't outperform the culture and the togetherness of a team. I think the best teams play the best together, and we're starting to figure that out as a culture and a program.
Defense seems like every year more wrinkles to the rivalry this year too. Your former defense lineman now on their team.
Yeah.
Just the state of the rivalry and Eli Drinkwitz's opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a great rivalry. Obviously, there's different elements that play into it now. Obviously, we have 2 players on our team from Fayetteville and multiple players on our team from the state of Arkansas, which adds to the intrigue. Obviously, the former head coach here, Coach Odom's the defensive coordinator. The former linebacker here, Michael Shears, the linebackers coach. Sam Carter used to be a QC here, now he's there. And then obviously Trey Williams, who is a graduate of the University of Missouri, has found his way to the University of Arkansas. He's from Columbia, and is having a tremendous season. So excited for him to have the right fit and find and accomplish what he's wanting to accomplish there. Markel Utzi, a guy who's a graduate from the University of Missouri, who is from the state of Little Rock, getting to play for his home state and having a successful season for them, is exciting for them. But when we play, it's going to be our team versus their team and trying to win that trophy. And I don't think there's any ill will in this game at all. I think it's a good old-fashioned rivalry where you're trying to play for your state and your team. And as a competitor, when the game's over, you want to be successful. So.
With the defense playing it the way it has the past few weeks, does that change anything for you as a play caller, as a head coach, the way you approach and manage a game?
Yeah, I think it's especially in that game, as a play caller, you can settle into a rhythm of, making sure you're not reckless. I think, looking back and watching that game and being critical of ourselves, figuring out where we could be successful and where we felt like we did some good things was, again, the field got tilted on us in that third quarter and not putting the ball in jeopardy. As frustrating as that can be for fans watching the game, it's about winning the game at the end. And, I think if either team would have turned the ball over, I think it would have been the other team would have won. And for neither team to have a turnover, put the ball in jeopardy, put us in a position to win the game at the end. And when you're playing a team that has a lot of talent and you're trying to make sure that you put yourself in a position to execute to win, the first thing you can't do is beat yourself. And I feel like we're doing that, and I don't feel like I feel like that's how you have to win games in this league.
Eli, I guess as a head coach, you haven't gone through like a full bowl prep before, just because of last year, what happened.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Now that you're going to be in one, where do you see the real value in what lies ahead here over the next month or so?
Yeah, I think it's player development and competition. You get to continue to let your younger guys and players get more comfortable, see reps, see different plays, communicate with each other. And then you create a sense of competition, knowing that the guys here are going to be the guys that are playing next year. And some of your older vets may not get nearly as many reps, but your young quarterbacks are going to get multiple reps and multiple opportunities. Obviously, we're going to have to replace running back, and so you're going to give those guys opportunities to carry the football and get more feel and reps. So football is a game of reps and repetition, and so getting those practices and getting those opportunities will be big for our program. And then plus you get to keep them here, instead of giving them almost, because we don't start school back until almost the 18th, where they get 6 weeks off. You're going to give them, an opportunity to be around them, feed them, work them out, and practice.
Eli, when you go back to that kind of turning point of the season you talked about a few minutes ago, how important was that throwing out the depth chart, kind of resetting the competition in practice?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of things that were thrown out. Depth chart, egos, continuing to figure out who really wants to be here, and continuing to mold, the team and togetherness. And I think, everybody's got to be able to push in the same direction. And when you have the best teams, you sacrifice a little bit of your individuality, and you sacrifice a little bit of your ego, and you realize it's not about you, it's about what we can accomplish together. And I think it took a little bit of humbling for our football team and our football program to get to the point where, we got to do it together. We can't do it by ourselves.
Have you been around a player in season that has had a turnaround like Blaze Aldridge seemingly has had? He was pretty frank. He wasn't playing well early on, lost his spot, and now he's on the field almost every snap for you.
I haven't thought of it like that, but just really proud of him, again, for coming in, and playing well the first game, and then having some issues and really, again, having to find himself and figure out, okay, nothing's given, everything's earned, and rededicate himself to us. And I credit our coaching staff and our scheme. We had to adjust. Originally, I think we had both Blaze and Chad playing the Mike position, and now we moved one of them over to Will to try to get those two guys on the field at the same time. So you got to be able to be flexible and put your best players in the best position. And I think it's a combination of all those things. And again, it goes back to, we talk about this. We have this saying in our staff: low ego, high output. And I think that's carrying over to our football team right now too. It's low ego, high output in a world where it's all about me, 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 me. The team's got to be greater than me in order for us to be successful. I think that's showing up on our play too.
I think Barrett's had his 2 highest receiving games against Arkansas. I feel like touchdown all year. Do you see any sort of extra motivation from them to come into this game? And you talk to them about your connection with Arkansas as well?
I think it's unwritten. I think we all kind of know that we're from Arkansas. No, there's no extra expectation or benefit. I think we're excited to play. Obviously, those guys are going to be excited to play. Fayetteville High School is a stone's throw away from Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium. So, we've all watched games there before. It's just kind of an exciting thing. I don't think any of us need to try to put any more pressure on it than that. Barrett just shows up in big games, and he always has in that game. And so I don't know if we've played this game. Obviously I haven't been back to Donald W. Reynolds since 2011 when I was at Auburn. But I don't know if Barrett and Akil have played there. I think the rest of these games have been in. Akil did. Barrett hasn't. So, I think there'll be some extra nerves there, extra excitement, but they've played a lot of football games.
Coach, how many people do you expect, family members or friends, to be at the game supporting you, or maybe support the other team?
Yeah, there's I have no idea. My wife does my ticket brokering for us, so she handles all the requests, especially in a short turnaround. I don't know who will be rooting for us or who will be rooting against us. But there'll be a lot of people there that I consider friends or considered friends prior to kickoff. I don't know after kickoff if they'll still be my friends, but I got a lot of people there that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I've been to those games. I know what the passion of that community is, and have sat in the southeast end zone and watched games plenty of times. So, will be exciting to kick it off and play.
Eli, you mentioned it's been a decade since you've coached there. It's
Yeah.
a very country you know well, obviously. What's it like to kind of get a chance to go back there regularly?
I don't know. I'll find out Friday. I really haven't thought about it too much. And at the end of the day, this isn't about me at all. It's really about our football team and about the guys playing, so I'm sure it'll be surreal at some point. walking out, coming out from underneath there and being able to look where I used to sit, for when I would go to games. So I think that'll be a little bit unique and interesting. But once the ball kicks, I'm going to be worried about converting third downs and when do we need to call timeouts and, yelling and screaming at officials. So I probably won't be too caught up in it.
Does Caleb deal with an injury? He wasn't out there on Saturday.
Yeah. Caleb had a soft tissue injury that wouldn't allow him to go on Saturday.
What did you get out of DJ Jackson?
Yeah, tremendous start. I thought he played his butt off. To play and perform as well as he did, I thought he tackled extremely well, contested third downs, stayed true on man coverage, didn't give up a double move. To be put in that situation and play as well as he did was extremely impressive. DJ walks around with a lot of confidence. But man, I didn't know he was going to play that well. Really excited for him. But again, this week doesn't care about last week, so he's going to have to go back out and recreate that process again this week.
Coach, do you always keep a lightsaber underneath the podium there?
Yeah.
How long was that plan to do that?
Yeah, really, that's our recruiting department. Kind of had that whole scenario planned out, and then after the game in the locker room, they asked me about it, and I probably wasn't thinking clearly, and just said, "Yeah, let's do it," and then it turned into what it turned into. But it was. I thought it was funny, but
You went back to Jackson. When Caleb's going out, was there any consideration to, maybe moving Chris outside because he's played there, or was it pretty much, hey, next man up and we want DJ out on the outside?
No, we've had all kinds of conversations, but we're kind of beat up right now. Sean Robinson's out again this week. Chris Sharon will be out, and Chris has been our backup nickel. So if you were going to move KAD out to corner, then you're talking about playing another true freshman. And so, we just felt like DJ had played enough and felt like that was our best opportunity and option. So, we're pretty down right there on the back end. So, Ish has still not been able to get back from his injury. We just felt like that was the best thing to do.
Feel like, Eli, anything on a short week you really emphasize to your team about being prepared with one day less time?
You got to go through it and recreate your process. We're going to be able to be on the practice field. We got meetings starting at 1 today, and so we'll be a little bit quicker into it. I think we got to do a good job of taking care of our guys' bodies and making sure we're, in week 12 of the season, make sure that we're getting the reps that we need at the tempo that we need it, but not putting our guys in jeopardy. So that's going to be key, number one. Number two is just make sure that we, I said it last week, feed your focus, starve your distractions. And we got to know that what we're playing for and why we're playing and how important it is to our football team. Make sure we're excited about being there and excited about competing. We got to be able to put the emotion and when you win a game like that and there's all that energy and adrenaline, you got to be able to flush that and recreate your competitive fire for this game. And we got to be ready to go at the start. I know that this is a team that can really start fast that we're going against, and so we're going to have to be ready at the opening kick. Wouldn't surprise me if Coach Fountain didn't try with surprise onside. We're going to have to be ready from the opening kick.
6 sacks allowed on Saturday. I know you said that D-line's really good, but some of that Connor's not being super mobile or some breakdowns up front.
Yeah, I think it was both. We had 2 twist stunts that got to us. We had 2 that we pushed up in the pocket that kind of was us, creating our own self-sacks. One of them was in the red zone when I thought, he could have thrown the ball away, but ended up taking the sack. So, and then does intentional grounding count as a sack? Do you know, is that considered in those? Because 2 of those could have been from that too. I don't know if those count as those were considered the sacks, but I remember the two twist stunts and 2 that were pushed up that I felt like he didn't. We talk about take the space you need, only the space you need in the pocket. I felt like we were a little bit too much of just kind of moving into some of our issues. But, again, I think we've had I don't know how many different starting lineups we've had at the offensive line position in our 12th game, but it's been quite a few. And, for those guys to be successful, they have to have that camaraderie and work together. And so I think it's, it's a little bit of a challenge having Woody and Luke move over to right guard and then X be at left guard. But, that's what we practice for, and I know Coach Johnson will get them right this week.
Everybody makes a big deal of the 6th win because it's bowl eligibility, but nobody seems to make as big a deal about number 7, which would be a winning season. Is there a big difference in your mind there, clinching a winning season?
I'm just trying to be 1-0 right now. You stack up the wins at the end of the season and evaluate how you did. I think, this game is important to us, whether it was, 0-0 or whatever the records are. This is important to us because it's our rivalry game and we're playing at their place and there's a trophy on the line. And so haven't really got into whether or not winning a 7th game defines anything about this season or not. So, I think that's a good question, but one that I'd probably be able to answer more after I have a little bit more time to reflect. I woke up Sunday morning at 6, was in here working at Arkansas, so I haven't really had time to reflect on all the different things.
Anything else, Coach? All right,
Yeah, no lightsaber today, so I'll just leave y'all with MIZ.
Get real fancy.
Oh, we got to do, never mind. Bob Holt, what do you got for me, Bob?
You're, okay.
It's going to be a little weird.
I know.
Progress.
You see, Eli called on me, so.
Hold on one sec.
Bob, you're Gus's favorite, so I had to call you first. Don't take that personal, Nate.
Oh, Nate's not on.
Oh, man. Well, that's why Bob's Gus's favorite. Oh, okay.
You're the first coach I've ever heard refer to State by its full name. Are you getting some kind of kickback from the Reynolds Foundation?
No, he's graduate from the University of Missouri.
There we go. All right. Bob, go ahead whenever you're ready, sir. Oh, hold on. Hold on, Bob. Yeah, I'm muted. It's the kickback, yeah. Just a little bit of a kickback. All right, Bob, go ahead, sir.
Okay. Eli, I know we talked to Barrett and Akil yesterday, and I know you've only had them for 2 years, not 5 years, but just what have you thought of their careers and what have they meant to you in the program?
Well, I'll start with Akil Byers.
There we go.
I'll talk about Akil first. Obviously, it was a highly ranked recruit that committed to Mizzou and kind of gave us credibility in the recruiting days before I was even here. He's had a tremendous career as a player for us, but even as a young man who's grown into maturity. He's got a degree, has really been solid for us in the middle. And I just think about his durability, how much he's played. And then the fact that he came back this past year and really committed himself to our football team and to being a leader. After the Tennessee game and the changes that I made, Akil on Sunday night came to my office and was just asking how can he help, and was disappointed in how everything was going and how can he help and how can he lead. And so, the legacy he's going to leave for me here at the University of Missouri is a guy who really cared about this team and cared about this program and cared about leaving it better than he found it. And I think that he's done that. Barrett Bannister, obviously a young man who came here, has earned everything that's been given to him, including a scholarship, who's been Mr. Dependable, has embraced his role, and no matter what it was, when he was playing a ton of reps, when he wasn't, when he was a third down specialist, when he was a first down specialist, the guy gives us everything he's got. He's going to be a tremendous coach in the future, and look forward to for him, the opportunity to go back. I know, obviously his grandfather, Coach Horton, used to work there, and I know that's going to be a special thing for them. And his uncle used to work there, and so To be able to be at that stadium and play in that game is going to be a lot of fun for him, and excited for that opportunity for him.
There we go.
Of course, what I was wondering, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. How's Big Al done and the defensive line coach since you promoted him? Can you remember being involved in a game where there's so many people on each side that have, like cross connections? The Arkansas folks have connections to Mizzou, and the Mizzou folks have connections to either the university or the state of Arkansas.
Yeah. First off, I'll start with, have you ever been to the Alma Greenwood game? I mean, there's a lot of crossover connections there, or the Springdale-Fayetteville game where people, are rivalries. They eat at the same restaurants and go to the same places, or maybe the Auburn-Alabama game there, Bob. I mean, that's kind of rivalries. That's what makes them special, when there's so much interconnectedness and so much, intrigue. I think about the Auburn-Alabama game in 2010. I mean, Eric Smith, our three-back, I mean, his brother was a walk-on at Alabama, so it made it intriguing. I remember, we weren't supposed to tell anybody any of the things we were doing because we were afraid it was going to leak to the other team, including the walk-on. So, I've kind of been in those kind of rivalries. So that's what I think is exciting about the one that we're creating here with Arkansas and Mizzou, and again, the intrigue makes it even more special. As far as Big Al, wow, I think as good as Blaze Aldridge has played, and as good as different people have really embraced their role, I couldn't be any more proud of what Al Davis has meant to our program and to me personally this year. In making a very difficult decision to change directions, you're never quite sure how that's going to go. And it can either be something that ignites a spark and works, or it can really backfire. And I mean, there's examples of that all over college football. But when you hire the right person, when the person's got the right kind of character and makeup, and you give them responsibility, to whom much is given, much is required. I think Big Al is that guy. He embraced his role. He didn't try to be anybody but himself. He took the same mentality that he had when he was a Razorback, the way he made himself into a great player and a captain, is what he did with our D-line. He holds those guys accountable. He teaches them exactly what they need to do. He's bought into a togetherness feel. They've got their own motto, their own creed that they're playing by, and I can't imagine that it could have gone any better. And really grateful for him and what he means to us and our defense right now.
I guess they lost 19 in a row in the conference. How amazed are we? What have you thought about the job Sam's done to have him be ranked and be 7 or 4 at this point?
Yeah, Bob, you were kind of a muted deal for the earliest part of that question. So the only thing I'll comment on is, I think Sam Pittman is exactly what the University of Arkansas needed at the exact time that they needed it. And I think they did a tremendous job in making that hire. And hats off to the athletic director and the group that was involved in that. I don't think that there's, I said it this morning, I think obviously to me, Sam would be my vote for SEC Coach of the Year. And I think there's a lot of guys that are definitely deserving. I think Coach Heupel and Coach Beamer have done a tremendous job. Obviously, Coach Smart in being undefeated is pretty remarkable. Coach Kiffin, what he's done at Ole Miss is certainly remarkable as well. But when you look at what Sam has been able to do with that team, the staff he's hired, the players he's recruited, and the way that they're playing, and kind of reinvigorated that state for their football program, I don't know that anybody's done a better job. He's a genuine person, a genuine leader. He cares, and really nothing seems to rattle him. They lost some coaches in the summer, and he went out and hired some tremendous coaches to replace them. He hired Dal Loggins, a former player there, who's a tremendous offensive mind. So I think he's very thoughtful in the way he's approached it and built it. He's connected to the players in that state. And I think he's doing a really good job, and he's got a very tough team to play against, which is always something to be respected.
I appreciate you hanging around. Thanks for
We'll take one more question from Jacob in Fayetteville.
Spoke to Frank Vines a couple days ago, who told us it is the honor of his coaching career to be watching what you're doing right now. Just to have that support from him and also the whole Alma community, you're a celebrity there. Just what is the whole town of Alma mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm a celebrity in the town of Alma, but but I will say this, to have that compliment from Coach Vines, a legendary high school coach, who really the only reason I'm in coaching is because he said, I was going to go to school to be a lawyer, and he kind of pulled me aside and said, Eli, I think you'd be a really good football coach. And that was really the first time that I had any interest in that. And he hired me for my first job and taught me what it meant to, my number one job as a 7th grade coach was to make sure that everybody came back and played in 8th grade. So to build togetherness, to make sure people have a unique experience. I remember the things he would tell us before our first game, before the games we would play, do your job and trust your teammates to do their jobs. I remember after, losses in the playoffs where he would tell us about, what it meant to define real success, and that winning and losing football games didn't define who you were and didn't define success for your life. What you do as a husband and a father will do that. And, he surrounded our football program with great men. I think about Brooks Witherspoon and Tom McMurray and David Hale and all the other different coaches at Alma that really impacted me along the way, and the legacy that those guys leave, the athletic director, Mike McSpadden, Stan Flinner, just people that really have formed, my coaching philosophy. And so for Coach Vines to say that means a whole lot. Wish him well. I'm not sure if he's coming to the game, but if he is, I got a sideline pass for him. So if he calls plays, that'll really throw those guys off. We'll be running belly right and buck sweep left. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Bob and Jacob. We'll see you this week.
See y'all. Thanks,
Yep.